At 6 o'clock in the morning, I stood in the alley behind my house staring at a garbage bin that had caused me months of frustration. Technically, it was my garbage bin. The problem was that somebody else seemed to think it belonged to them. And in less than 3 hours, they were about to learn a very expensive lesson. If you've ever dealt with entitled neighbors who think other people's property is theirs to use, hit that like button, subscribe, and settle in. Because today's revenge story starts with a trash bin and ends with what was probably a very unpleasant letter from a city. A while back, I started noticing something strange. Every week, my wheelie bin seemed fuller than it should have been. At first, I thought maybe I was imagining things. You know how it is. You throw away a few extra things after cleaning the house and suddenly the bin fills up faster than expected. So I ignored it. Then it happened again. And again. And again. One extra trash bag would appear. Then another. Then another. At first it was only occasional. An extra bag here. A bag there. Annoying, but not worth starting a neighborhood war over. I figured maybe somebody had forgotten which bin was theirs. Maybe it was an honest mistake. Unfortunately, I was giving my mystery neighbor far too much credit. Because over the next few months things escalated. A lot. The random trash bags became a regular occurrence. Then I started noticing my bin wasn't always where I left it. Sometimes it would be several feet away. Sometimes it would be positioned differently. Then one morning I walked outside and couldn't find it at all. My bin had literally been moved to another part of the alley. I remember standing there blinking in disbelief. How does someone become so entitled that they decide another person's garbage bin is now community property? At that point I knew this wasn't an accident. Somebody had adopted my bin. And apparently they had no intention of stopping. Normally I might have confronted them. The problem was I had no idea who was doing it. The alley served multiple houses. The culprit could have been anyone. And without proof, accusing random neighbors wasn't exactly a great strategy. So I waited. And watched. And got increasingly irritated. Then life decided to make the situation even worse. My wife and I had a newborn baby. Anyone who's had a newborn knows exactly where this is going. Diapers. Mountains of diapers. Endless diapers. Every day produced a fresh collection of tiny biological weapons that needed to be disposed of immediately. Except my garbage bin was constantly being filled by someone else's trash. There were days when I opened the lid and just stared. No room. Nothing. Completely packed. With somebody else's garbage. Meanwhile, I had bags of dirty diapers piling up. The smell alone was enough to test anyone's patience. I spent months dealing with this nonsense. Months. Every week the same story. Every week more garbage. Every week more frustration. And then one day my patience finally ran out. Collection day was approaching. Garbage trucks usually arrived around 9 in the morning. The mystery neighbor had already dragged my bin out the night before and left it waiting for pickup. Which meant I finally had an opportunity. I set my alarm early. Very early. 6 o'clock. The sun was barely up. The alley was quiet. Most people were still asleep. I stepped outside and walked directly to my beloved stolen wheelie bin. And there it was. Filled almost entirely with somebody else's trash. I looked around. Nobody was watching. Perfect. One by one, I removed every single bag. Every single one. I piled them neatly on the sidewalk where all the bins waited for collection. Then I wheeled my bin back where it belonged. Opened it. And filled it with my own rubbish. Especially the bags I'd been unable to throw away because somebody else had been stealing my space. When I finished, my bin was exactly as it should be. Mine. For the first time in months. I went inside feeling strangely satisfied. Not because I had gotten revenge. Not yet. Because I'd finally taken back something that belonged to me. Then I went about my day. Hours passed. Work distracted me. Life continued. By the afternoon, I was walking home through the alley when I noticed something unusual. Very unusual. The mystery neighbor's trash bags were gone. But in their place sat several bright blue bags. Bright. Blue. Impossible to miss. Each one had city markings printed on it. Large official labels. Investigation notices. Warning text. The kind of thing nobody wants appearing next to their garbage. I stopped walking, stared, and then started smiling. A very slow smile. Apparently, the city sanitation workers had discovered the loose trash bags sitting on the sidewalk. And apparently they weren't happy about it. Where I live, illegally dumping garbage can lead to warnings, investigations, and some pretty nasty fines. We are talking hundreds of pounds. Sometimes thousands. The city doesn't play around when it comes to fly tipping. And here's the beautiful part. Trash has a habit of identifying its owner. Letters, receipts, packaging, names, addresses, all kinds of clues. All the city had to do was open one bag. Just one. If they found identifying information, the mystery neighbor suddenly had a much bigger problem than a missing garbage bin. I never found out exactly what happened afterward. Maybe they got a warning. Maybe they got fined. Maybe they got a very uncomfortable letter explaining why their garbage was now part of an official investigation. Honestly, I don't care. Because I do know one thing. My garbage bin was never touched again. Not once. No extra bags.
No mystery trash.
No missing bin. Nothing. The behavior stopped immediately. It was like a switch had been flipped. For months, this person had treated my property like it belonged to them. Then suddenly they remembered how to use their own garbage bin. Funny how that works. The best part? The solution had been available to them the entire time. They could have bought a replacement bin. They could have contacted the city. They could have solved their problem legitimately. Instead, they chose the lazy option. They chose entitlement. They chose to make their problem my problem. And eventually that decision came back to bite them. Hard. Sometimes revenge doesn't require elaborate planning. Sometimes you simply stop letting people take advantage of you. Sometimes karma arrives wearing a city uniform and carrying investigation bags. And honestly, those bright blue bags were one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. If this story made you smile, hit that like button and subscribe for more Reddit revenge stories. And tell us in the comments, what would you have done if someone kept stealing your garbage bin for months? Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next story.